So welcome back, guys, to We Talk Boxing, and today I'm going to be talking about Vasily Lomachenko versus George Kambosos. Now, both of these guys are set to take on each other in a fight for the IBF 135-pound belt, which is currently vacant. And this fight is taking place in Perth, and it's hopefully going to see Vasily Lomachenko or George Kambosos claim this belt. Obviously, both of them have fought for it in the past, and obviously at times Kambosos, on the other hand, obviously won the titles, and then obviously lost to Devin Haney. Whereas in terms of Vasily Lomachenko, it's his opportunity now to maybe push on and see if it's possible to claim this belt and maybe move on and try and take on the other champions as well. Currently, as it stands, you've got Shakur Stevenson, who's the WBC, and you've got Tank Davis, who is the WBA champion. The WBO is currently vacant, currently at this present moment in time. So, in terms of both fighters, where they're coming off in terms of their last performances, you see Vasily Lomachenko currently 17-3 with 11 KOs on his record as well. Okay, so he's not a young pup. He's been around for a while. We all know what Vasily Lomachenko brings to the table. Good footwork, good movement, good agility, decent power, but he's not the biggest of fighters. But in terms of his skill for skill, he's potentially one of the best in the division, and he should cause George Kambosos a lot of trouble. And what I mean by that, if it's boxing skill for boxing skill, there's no way on earth, that's my opinion, this is, that Kambosos could match or, be anywhere near Vasily Lomachenko, because they're just two different classes. And in terms of their rankings currently, in terms of the division, 135-pound division, in the Ring magazine, you're looking at number 1 versus number 7. Vasily Lomachenko is number 1 in the Ring magazine bouts, and obviously Kambosos is number 7. But both of these guys are fighting for the IBF, as I said earlier. And Vasily Lomachenko is number 3, and Kambosos is number 2. So again, both guys are quite highly ranked in that division. The only person who's ranked above both of these is Zepeda, who is the mandatory, which is quite weird, really, to see why he hasn't maybe fought for the belt. It could be due to injury, or maybe he's got another fight lined up. I'm not too sure. Haven't really been keeping tracks on in terms of Zepeda. But Vasily Lomachenko, on the other hand, he obviously, his last fight was in 2020, May 2020. He fought Devin Haney, where he lost on a unanimous decision. And it was a close fight, and it was splitting quite a lot of opinions in terms of fans, as well as commentators, etc., and a lot of professionals in terms of who they thought won the fight. But Devin Haney got the decision, and it's on his record. Obviously, he claimed all the belts at that present moment in time. And the scorecards, we had 2 judges scoring it 115, 113, and then another judge scoring it 116, 112. So yeah, you can say it was close, but the judges favoured Devin Haney. But prior to that, Vasily Lomachenko had one fight in 2022 against Jermaine Ortiz, and his other fight was against Richard Comey, which is in 2021. So he hasn't been the most active of fighters, but he's averaging obviously 1 fight a year. So this fight will obviously tell us a little bit more in terms of what he's got left in the tank, and potentially, because the division's quite open. You've got, as I said earlier, Shakur Stevenson, he's one of the champions. He may move up to 140-pound division after his next fight. And if that is the case, then, his WBC strap will become vacant. If it's not the case, then maybe he could get a unification fight with someone like a Shakur Stevenson, or maybe a fight for the WBO belt as well, which is currently vacant. I'm not sure if anyone's actually fighting for that belt coming up. So it'd be interesting to see. Now, in terms of George Kambosos Jr., on the other hand, he's currently 30 years of age, according to BoxRec. Best Australian boxer, currently ranked number 1. And again, according to BoxRec, he's ranked number 15 in the world, which I don't really go by their rankings because it's a bit subdued, but it's one of them. Now, in his fights, he's got a good record, and obviously he's 21-2 with 10 KOs to his name. So again, yeah, good credible in terms of credibility in terms of who he's been in the ring with. His last fight was in July last year, that's 2023, against Maxi Hughes, where he won on a 12-round majority decision. So again, the judges were quite split there. And then prior to that, he fought Devin Haney back-to-back, which was in 2022. The first one was in June, and the last one was in October, where he lost both fights on unanimous decision. The first fight, yeah, was quite wide in terms of how I scored it, and the second fight, he just looked like there was two different levels in boxing. Devin Haney literally sat down on a lot of his punches, and he hurt Kambosos a lot. In terms of the first fight, it's like how I remember that is that Devin Haney hurt him, but not as much as the second fight. He wasn't really sitting down on his punches, and he was moving a lot more, and his jab was a lot more evident in the first fight, whereas in the second one, as I said, Haney just let his hands go, and he was sitting down. But George Kambosos has been in there with Teofimo as well. He beat Teofimo back in 2021, which was a split decision victory as well. And he's been in there with some other fighters like Lee Selby as well, which was at the time a good British prospect as well. So yeah, he's got some good credibility, some good names on his record. Again, this fight is how could I say it, for him? He has to go out there and put on a very, very good performance, and he needs to look good, and he needs to win. It's the same as Vasily Lomachenko. Vasily Lomachenko needs to win. Both guys do need to win. But if I have to say, in terms of George Kambosos, going forward, if he loses, then he potentially could maybe be seen as maybe a gatekeeper for the division, because he'll have quite a few losses on his record. Then this will be his third loss, which is not a lot, but because he's been in those big fights and he hasn't really won, a lot of fighters will probably see past him. And the only way he could potentially claim more than belts again is if a lot of the big boys like your Davis and your Shakur Stevenson, people like that, move up into the other division, 140-pound division. But yeah, it's quite interesting. You've got other young pups in that division as well who are kind of raring to go around for their opportunity to become world champion, such as Keyshawn Davis as well, who is touted to be pretty much one of the next best thing. And then from the British shores, we've got Sam Noakes as well, and Sam Noakes is going to be looking to hopefully get himself in the mix. And he's a good prospect, good British prospect, and hopefully he can maybe do something from a British point of view. But yeah, it's a good fight. It's going to be a fight where it's going to be a clash of styles. My heart is leaning more towards Vasily Lomachenko. I do like Vasily Lomachenko, and I always want to see him do really well. So I hope that he could come through this fight unscathed and hopefully get the victory. I think that's the most important thing on this occasion. And then hopefully progress and move on and try and claim some of the other titles in the future. But it's definitely going to be a clash of styles, and Kambosos is going to make it rough and tough and rugged for Vasily Lomachenko. He's going to try and get up close and make the fight awkward for him. But Vasily Lomachenko has to use his boxing ability. As soon as George Kambosos comes on him, he already knows all this stuff, but it's the case where he has to use that lateral movement. And then obviously just quick punches, pretty much like Manny Pacquiao back in the days, or a younger Vasily Lomachenko when he first came on the scene, how he was pretty much making everyone quit with that movement, that speed, that pace, that power, and that ferociousness. And that's what we need to see from Vasily. But you guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you see this fight going? Who do you think is going to win? And by what method? Is it going to be a technical stoppage? Is it going to be a KO, straight KO? Could it be a points victory? One thing I will say before I'll stop the video is that Kambosos is quite durable. He can take a lot of punishment. So in terms of me seeing a knockout, straight up knockout, I can't see it. But in terms of him getting stopped, yeah, I could see that maybe with the volume of punches and maybe him just not answering back. Maybe the referee could jump in, and Vasily maybe could claim the victory. But Kambosos is very, very durable. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, please subscribe and comment. Bless.